when an old scent can deliver a death sentence. Sophia Vale didn't know that the old perfume bottle in her grandmother's drawer would send Miami's underworld reeling. Tonight, the most powerful man in the city will smell it, and everything will fall apart. This is the story of an ordinary girl drawn into the criminal world because of a family legacy she never knew existed. Watch to the end, hit like, and comment where you're watching to let me know how far this story has come. Now, let's begin. The air conditioning at Santoro's was broken again. Not surprising, everything in the restaurant broke eventually and stayed broken until the owner felt like spending money, which meant never. Sophia Vale pushed through the kitchen doors with 3 plates balanced on her left arm and a water pitcher in her right hand, sweat already collecting at the small of her back, even though her shift had only started 20 minutes ago. Miami in August was hell. Miami in August, inside a failing Italian restaurant with no AC, was something worse. She dropped the plates at table 7 without looking at the customers' faces. Smile, nod, refill water, move. That was the rhythm. That was survival. "Excuse me, miss?" She turned. Middle-aged guy, polo shirt, wedding ring, but eyes that wandered. "Yeah? This chicken. It's supposed to be grilled, not fried." Sophia glanced at the plate. Definitely fried. She could see the breading from here. "I'll get you another one." "I don't want another one." "I want what I ordered." Her jaw tightened. She had 6 other tables. Her phone had buzzed twice in her pocket already. Probably the hospital calling about her mother again. She didn't have time for this. "I'll take it back to the kitchen. 2 minutes." She grabbed the plate and turned before he could say anything else. The kitchen smelled like burnt garlic and dish soap. Marco, the line cook, was smoking a cigarette by the back door even though he wasn't supposed to. He saw her coming and didn't even try to hide it. "Table 7, she said, setting the plate down harder than necessary. "Says he ordered grilled. This is fried." Marco shrugged. "Ticket says fried." "Well, he says grilled. Not my problem." Marco took another drag. "You wrote it down wrong." Sophia's phone buzzed again. She pulled it out. "Mercy General Hospital. 3rd call today." Her stomach dropped. "I gotta take this," she muttered, stepping toward the alley door. "You're on the floor," Marco called after her. She ignored him and pushed outside. The alley smelled like garbage and piss, but at least it was cooler than inside. She answered. "Hello? Ms. Vale?" The voice was clipped, professional. Nurse practitioner Kim. She recognized the tone before the name. "Your mother's oxygen levels have dropped again. We need to discuss next steps." Sophia closed her eyes. "What kind of next steps?" "We'd like to move her to ICU. The pulmonologist wants to run more tests, but I have to be honest with you. Her insurance is flagging the admissions. You're going to need to come in and speak with billing." "How much?" "I can't discuss that over the phone." "Ballpark." A pause. "Several thousand, depending on the tests." Sophia leaned against the brick wall, the rough surface catching on her shirt. Several thousand. She had $400 in her checking account. Maybe. She hadn't checked in 2 days because checking made it real. "I'll figure it out," she said. "Miss Vale, I'll figure it out." She hung up before the nurse could say anything else. Her hands were shaking. She shoved the phone back in her pocket and pressed the heels of her palms against her eyes. "Don't cry. Don't cry at work. You can't afford to lose this job." The back door swung open. Rico, the floor manager, stuck his head out. "Sophia, what the hell? You got tables." "I'm coming. Now." She followed him back inside. The heat hit her like a wall. Table 7 was glaring at her from across the room. She forced her face into something resembling pleasant and headed over. The rest of the shift blurred. More plates. More complaints. A kid spilled soda across an entire booth, and his parents just stared at their phones while Sophia mopped it up. Her lower back started to ache around hour 3. By hour 5, her feet were numb. It was nearly 10 when Rico told her to take her break. She collapsed into a chair in the kitchen, pulled out her phone, and opened her banking app. $372. Rent was due in 6 days. $450. That didn't include utilities, groceries, gas, or the minimum payment on her credit card that was already 2 weeks late. She opened the browser and typed how to get emergency medical funding. Most of the results were scams or required credit scores she didn't have. One mentioned a charity fund for uninsured patients, But the application process took 6 weeks. Her mother didn't have 6 weeks. Val. She looked up. Rico was standing in the doorway, looking more annoyed than usual. What? VIP just walked in. Front booth. I need you on it. Sophia frowned. It's Thursday. We don't get VIPs on Thursday. We do tonight. Move. She dragged herself to her feet, shoved her phone in her apron, and walked back out to the dining room. The front booth was the best table in the house. Circular, leather seats, view of the street. It was almost always empty because Santoro liked to keep it open in case someone important showed up. In 3 years, Sophia had seen it used maybe twice. Tonight, a man sat alone in the center of the curved bench. She noticed his stillness first. He wasn't on his phone, wasn't looking around. Just sitting, hands folded on the table, posture perfect. Dark suit, no tie. Hair swept back. Mid-30s maybe. The kind of face that didn't need to try. Sharp jaw, straight nose, eyes that caught the light wrong. Cold. Sophia walked over, pulling out her notepad. Evening, can I start you with something to drink? He looked up at her, didn't smile, just looked. It wasn't a normal look, it was the kind of look that took inventory, cataloged, assessed. Water, he said. His voice was low, controlled. Accent underneath, Italian, maybe. Faint. Sure. You need a minute with the menu, or clear the restaurant. Sophia blinked. I'm sorry? Everyone else, I want them out. She laughed. Couldn't help it. Sir, I can't just kick people out. If you want privacy, maybe try calling ahead next time. I'm not asking you. He pulled a phone from his jacket and pressed a single button, held it to his ear, didn't break eye contact with her. It's me. Santoro's. 5 minutes. He hung up. Sophia opened her mouth to say something, she wasn't sure what, but then Rico appeared beside her, moving faster than she'd ever seen him move. Mr. Rivaldi, Rico said, voice tight. We didn't know you were coming. The man, Rivaldi, didn't look at him. 5 minutes. Of course, of course. Rico turned to Sophia, grabbed her elbow, and pulled her back toward the kitchen. Go, now. What the hell is going on? Sophia hissed. Just stay in the back. Who is that guy? Rico's face was pale. Actually pale. She'd never seen him scared before. Someone you don't ask questions about. He pushed her through the kitchen doors and immediately started barking orders at Marco. Within 2 minutes, the other servers were ushering customers toward the door, offering apologies. Comp meals. People were confused, annoyed, but they left, all of them. Sophia watched through the circular window in the door. The dining room emptied. The front door was locked. The lights dimmed slightly. And Rivaldi sat alone in the front booth, waiting. Stay here, Rico told her. Then he walked back out. She watched Rico approach the table, watched him say something she couldn't hear. Rivaldi's expression didn't change. He said something back. Rico nodded, turned, and walked straight toward the kitchen. He pushed through the doors. He wants you. Sophia's stomach flipped. What? He asked for you specifically. Why? I don't know, and I don't care. Get out there. Rico. Now. Her pulse kicked up. She didn't know what this was, but every instinct she had was screaming at her to run. She thought about her mother in that hospital bed, thought about the bills, thought about the $450 she didn't have. She walked back out into the dining room. Rivaldi watched her approach. She stopped a few feet from the table, hands clenched at her sides. You wanted something? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Sit. I'm working. Not anymore. Sit. She didn't move. He tilted his head slightly, studying her. What's your name? Sophia. Sophia what? Vale. He repeated it quietly like he was testing how it sounded. Vale. His eyes narrowed. Where are you from? Here. Miami. Your family? Why does that matter? Answer the question. Her jaw tightened. My mom's in the hospital. My dad's not in the picture. That's it. Your mother's family? I don't know. She doesn't talk about them. Rivaldi leaned back slightly, still watching her with that unnerving focus. What perfume are you wearing? The question caught her off guard. What? Your perfume. What is it? Sophia's hand went instinctively to her collarbone. She'd put it on this morning out of habit, just a dab from the old bottle she kept in her bathroom. It was the only nice thing she owned, her grandmother's. The bottle was ancient, glass worn smooth, label half faded. She didn't even know what brand it was. "I don't know," she said. "It's old. Why?" Rivaldi stood. He was taller than she expected. He stepped closer and Sophia's body went rigid. He stopped just inside her personal space, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something dark and expensive, and then he inhaled. Not obviously. Not like a creep. Just a small, deliberate breath. His expression changed, barely. Just a flicker of something behind his eyes. Recognition, maybe. Or shock. He stepped back. "Where did you get it?" "It was my grandmother's." "Her name?" "Elena. Elena Marchesi." The silence that followed was suffocating. Rivaldi stared at her. Really stared, like he was seeing her for the first time, or seeing someone else entirely. "Marchesi," he repeated softly. "Yeah. Why? What's this about?" He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled his phone out again, dialed, and turned slightly away. "Enzo, I need a full workup. Name is Elena Marchesi. Cross-reference with the Santino line. I want everything. Birth date, last known address, family tree. 10 minutes. He hung up, turned back to her. "You're coming with me." Sophia took a step back. "Like hell I am. This isn't a request." "I don't know you. I'm not going anywhere." Rivaldi's expression didn't change, but something in his posture shifted, less patient. "You're wearing a perfume that hasn't been made in 30 years. A scent that was exclusive to one family. My family. The fact that you have it means one of two things. Either you stole it, or you're connected to someone who was supposed to be dead." Her heart was pounding now. "I didn't steal anything. It's my grandmother's." "Then your grandmother has some explaining to do." "She's dead." Rivaldi went still. "When?" 10 years ago." Another pause. He pulled out his phone again, checked something, then looked back at her. "What do you know about her?" "Not much. She didn't talk about her past. My mom said she came to the US a long time ago and never looked back." "From where?" "I don't know. Italy, I think." Rivaldi's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, read something, and his face went completely blank. He turned the phone toward her. On the screen was a black and white photograph. A woman, maybe in her 20s. Dark hair, sharp features. Beautiful. It was her grandmother. Younger than Sophia had ever seen her, but unmistakable. Beneath the photo was a name, Elena Marchesi Santino, and beneath that, deceased, 1981. Sophia's breath caught. "That's not right. She didn't die until—" "She faked her death." Rivaldi's voice was flat. "She disappeared from the family in 1981 and has been presumed dead ever since." "What family?" He looked at her like she was a child asking why the sky was blue. "Mine." Sophia's mind was racing. None of this made sense. Her grandmother had been a quiet woman, lived in a small apartment in Hialeah, worked at a dry cleaner, watched old movies. She wasn't connected to anything. She wasn't— "You're wrong," Sophia said. "You have the wrong person. The perfume doesn't lie. It's just perfume." "No." Rivaldi stepped closer again. "It's a signature. Only women in the Santino bloodline were allowed to wear it. It was made by a single perfumer in Naples, discontinued in 1992 when he died. No one outside the family had access. If you're wearing it, you're connected." "That's insane." "Is it?" He held up his phone again, showing her the photo. "Look at her. Really look." Sophia didn't want to, but she did. The resemblance was there, the eyes, the shape of the mouth. "Who was she?" Sophia's voice came out quieter than she intended. "She was my great-uncle's wife. She disappeared before I was born, but the stories—" He stopped, reconsidered. "She left because she wanted out. And if she left, there's a reason you were never told about any of this." "Because there's nothing to tell. She was just my grandmother." "She was a Santino, which means you are too." Sophia shook her head. No, I'm not part of whatever this is." "You already are." Rivaldi pocketed his phone. "The moment you walked into this room wearing that perfume, you announced yourself. And if I noticed, others will too." "What others?" People who don't ask polite questions. He gestured toward the door. We're leaving, now. I'm not going anywhere with you. Yes, you are. Because in about 15 minutes, federal agents are going to show up here asking questions you can't answer. And when they do, you're going to need someone who can protect you. From what? He looked at her like the answer should be obvious. From everything. Sophia's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out. Mercy General again. Rivaldi noticed. Your mother? She didn't answer. How much do you owe? Her throat tightened. That's none of your business. Everything about you is my business now. He stepped past her, heading toward the door. You want her taken care of? Come with me. You want to stay here and drown? Stay. He pushed through the door and walked out into the Miami night. Sophia stood frozen, phone still in her hand. She thought about her mother, about the bills, about the $372 that wouldn't even cover a single night in ICU. She thought about the perfume bottle sitting on her bathroom counter, something her grandmother had kept hidden for decades. She thought about the man who'd just walked out, calm, controlled, dangerous, and the life he was offering without actually offering anything. And then she thought about the alternative. She shoved her phone back into her pocket and followed him out the door. Rivaldi was standing beside a black sedan, driver already behind the wheel. He opened the back door and waited. Sophia stopped on the sidewalk. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting right now. She hesitated. Every rational part of her brain was screaming to turn around. But the rational part of her brain was also the part that had been failing her for months. Rational didn't pay hospital bills. Rational didn't keep her mother alive. She got in the car. Rivaldi slid in beside her, and the driver pulled away from the curb without a word. The interior smelled like leather and something faintly antiseptic. The windows were tinted dark enough that she couldn't see outside clearly. Who are you? She asked. Luca Rivaldi? That's a name, not an answer. He glanced at her, something almost like amusement crossing his face. You don't know who I am? Should I? Most people in this city do. I don't run in Mafia circles. Smart. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, then put it away. Your grandmother, Elena, she was married to Matteo Santino. He was my great-uncle. He died in 1983, 2 years after she disappeared. No one knew where she went. The family assumed she'd been killed. Why would they assume that? Because people don't just leave. She did. Apparently. He looked out the window. She must have had a reason, something strong enough to walk away from everything, from everyone. Sophia's hands were clenched in her lap. Why does any of this matter now? She's been dead for 10 years. Because you exist. He turned back to her. And because you just walked into a public place wearing a scent that marks you as family, you might as well have painted a target on your back. I didn't know. That doesn't matter. What matters is what happens next. Which is? We figure out what you know, what she left behind, and whether anyone else is looking for you. No one's looking for me. I'm nobody. Rivaldi's gaze was steady. You stopped being nobody the moment I smelled that perfume. The car turned onto a highway ramp. Sophia watched the city lights blur past, her reflection ghostly in the dark glass. What if I want out? She asked quietly. You were never in, not by choice. His voice softened, just barely. But if you want to survive what's coming, you'll need to understand what you're part of. And I'm the only one who can teach you. Why would you do that? Because you're family, and family is the only thing that matters. Sophia looked at him, really looked. He wasn't lying. Or if he was, it was a lie he believed. What about my mother? She asked. I'll take care of it. You don't even know what I'll take care of it. His tone left no room for argument. She'll have the best care available. Every bill paid. You have my word. Why? Because that's what family does. The car slowed, turning into an underground garage. Security cameras tracked their movement. The driver pulled into a reserved spot and cut the engine. Rivaldi opened his door. This is a safe house. You'll stay here tonight. Tomorrow, we start figuring out what Elena left behind. Sophia didn't move. And if I say no, he paused, half out of the car, and looked back at her. Then you walk away right now. I'll still pay for your mother's care. I'll still make sure you're protected. But you'll never know the truth. About your grandmother. About who you really are. Maybe I don't want to know. Maybe. He straightened. But I don't think that's true. He was right. She hated that he was right. Sophia got out of the car. The safe house was a penthouse suite in a building that didn't advertise itself. No doorman, no lobby. Just an elevator that required a key card and a fingerprint scan. Rivaldi placed his thumb on the reader, and the doors slid open. They rode up in silence. The penthouse was minimalist. Clean lines, white walls, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Biscayne Bay. Expensive without being showy. The kind of place that whispered wealth instead of shouting it. There's a guest room through there, Rivaldi said, gesturing down a hallway. Bathroom stocked. Help yourself to anything in the kitchen. Sophia set her bag down. She'd grabbed it from her locker at the restaurant on the way out. Everything she owned fit into one duffel. You're not staying? I have things to handle. What things? Things that will keep you safe. He headed toward the elevator. Don't leave. Don't call anyone. Don't post anything online. For the next 24 hours, you don't exist. What if I need to check on my mother? I'll have updates sent to you every 2 hours. He stepped into the elevator. Get some sleep, Sophia. Tomorrow's going to be long. The doors closed, and she was alone. Sophia stood in the center of the pristine living room, heart still racing, and tried to process what had just happened. 6 hours ago, she'd been taking orders at a failing restaurant. Now she was standing in a penthouse owned by a man who claimed she was part of a crime family. She pulled out her phone. No signal. Or, no, there was signal. But when she tried to open her browser, nothing loaded. Same with her messages. He'd locked her in, not physically, but digitally. She wanted to be angry, but mostly, she was just tired. Sophia walked to the guest room. It was bigger than her entire apartment. King-size bed, blackout curtains, a bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people. She sat on the edge of the bed and pulled the perfume bottle from her bag. It was small, glass, the label too faded to read. She'd been wearing it since she was 16, since her grandmother had given it to her a few weeks before she died. This was mine, her grandmother had said. Now it's yours. But be careful with it. Some things are more than they seem. Sophia had thought she meant it was expensive, fragile. She hadn't meant that at all. Sophia set the bottle on the nightstand and lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere in the city, her mother was in a hospital bed, struggling to breathe. Somewhere in the city, federal agents were probably looking for her. And somewhere in the city, Luca Rivaldi was doing things she didn't want to imagine to keep her safe. She closed her eyes. She didn't sleep. Sect. When morning came, Sophia found a bag of clothes waiting outside her door. Her size. Nothing flashy, jeans, plain shirts, underwear still in packaging. She didn't want to know how he'd known. She showered, dressed, and walked out into the main living area. Rivaldi was sitting at the dining table, coffee in hand, reading something on a tablet. He looked up when she entered. Sleep? No. Figured. He gestured to the counter. Coffee's fresh. There's food if you want it. She poured herself a cup and sat across from him. My mother? Stable. Moved to a private room this morning. Specialist is reviewing her case. You moved her? I told you I'd take care of it. Sophia wrapped her hands around the mug, letting the heat seep into her palms. What now? Now you tell me everything you know about Elena. I already told you, not much. Then tell me not much. Sophia sighed. She lived alone, worked at a dry cleaner in Hialeah. Didn't have friends that I knew of. She was quiet, kept to herself. My mom said she came to the U.S. in the early 80s and never talked about Italy. Did she have anything? Papers, photos, letters? Not that I saw. When she died, my mom cleaned out her apartment. There wasn't much, some clothes, kitchen stuff, the perfume. Nothing else? No. Rivaldi set his tablet down. Someone who successfully fakes their death and disappears for 40 years doesn't leave nothing behind. She left something. The question is where? Why does it matter? Because if she left for a reason. And if that reason is still relevant, it could put you in danger. From who? From people who don't forgive. People who hold grudges across generations. Sophia set her mug down. You're talking about your family. I'm talking about our family. Yes. I'm not part of. You are. His voice was firm. Like it or not, the moment Elena married Matteo, she became a Santino. And that means you carry that blood too. Blood doesn't mean anything. Rivaldi's expression hardened. In this world, blood is everything. Before Sofia could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned, and stood. Stay here. Where are you going? There's something I need to confirm. He headed toward the elevator, then stopped. Don't leave. You said that already. I'm saying it again. The elevator doors closed. Sofia sat alone in the massive penthouse, frustration building. She wasn't a prisoner. She could leave if she wanted. But where would she go? Back to her apartment? Back to the restaurant? Back to drowning? She stood and walked to the windows. The bay stretched out below, boats drifting lazily under the morning sun. It was beautiful, peaceful, completely disconnected from her reality. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out. A text from an unknown number. Room 407, stable. Specialist recommends long-term monitoring. Her mother. Whoever was keeping tabs had just sent her an update. Proof that Rivaldi was keeping his word. Sofia stared at the message. She thought about everything she'd learned in the last 12 hours. About her grandmother, about the perfume, about the life Elena had walked away from. And she thought about the life Sofia was walking into. She didn't have a choice. Not really. She sat back down at the table and waited for Luca Rivaldi to come back and tell her what came next. Because whether she liked it or not, whether she wanted it or not, she was part of this now. And there was no going back. Rivaldi came back 3 hours later. Sofia heard the elevator chime and looked up from the couch where she'd been sitting, staring at her phone, reading the same hospital update over and over like it might change if she looked hard enough. He stepped out carrying a manila envelope, his expression darker than it had been when he left. We need to talk, he said. That's usually a bad start. He ignored the comment and dropped the envelope on the coffee table in front of her. It landed with a dull thud. Open it. Sofia eyed the envelope like it might bite. What is it? Your grandmother's insurance policy. She reached for it slowly, pulled out a stack of papers. Official documents, legal letterhead, names she didn't recognize. The first page was a death certificate. Elena Marchesi Santino, deceased March 14th, 1981. Cause of death, drowning. This is fake, Sofia said. Yes. The next page was a bank statement. An account opened in 1981 under the name Elena Vale. Monthly deposits, small amounts, enough to live on but not enough to draw attention. The account had been closed in 2015, the year her grandmother died. She changed her name, Sofia said quietly. She erased herself. Rivaldi sat down across from her, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. Elena Santino died in a boating accident off the coast of Naples. Her body was never recovered. 3 months later, Elena Vale opened a bank account in Miami with a social security number that didn't exist before 1981. How did she do that? Money, connections, or both? He gestured to the envelope. Keep going. Sofia flipped through more pages. A birth certificate for her mother, Lisa Vale, born 1979. Father listed as unknown. Which made sense. Her mother had never talked about Sofia's grandfather. Sofia had assumed he'd been a one-night stand or someone who'd run off. Now she wasn't sure what to assume. The last document in the stack was a handwritten letter. The paper was yellowed, the ink faded. Sofia recognized the handwriting immediately. Her grandmother's. She unfolded it carefully. If you're reading this, I'm gone. And if Luca Rivaldi is the one who found you, then everything I tried to protect you from has caught up anyway. I left because I had no choice. Matteo was a good man, but goodness doesn't survive in that world. I saw what it did to him, what it would do to our daughter, so I took her and I ran. I never wanted you to know about this. I wanted you to live a normal life. But if you're holding this letter, normal is over. The perfume was a message. Only family would recognize it. If someone from the old world found you because of it, it means they're watching. It means they know. Don't trust anyone, Sofia, not even family. Especially not family. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you forever. Nonna. Sofia read it twice, then a third time. Her hands were shaking. When did you find this? She asked. Shichikitsi. This morning, it was in a safety deposit box under Elena's name. The bank flagged it when I started digging into her records. You broke into a safety deposit box? I made a phone call. Rivaldi's tone was flat. The box was set to transfer to your mother if Elena died, and to you if your mother died. She was planning ahead. Sophia set the letter down. Her chest felt tight. She says not to trust you. I know. So why are you showing me this? Because hiding it doesn't change what it says. He leaned back, watching her. Your grandmother was smart. She knew what she was walking away from, and she knew that one day it might come back. Why now? It's been 40 years. Because you wore the perfume in public. Because I noticed. And if I noticed, someone else will too. You keep saying that. Who else? Rivaldi's jaw tightened. The Santino family isn't what it used to be. Matteo's line died out. But the name still carries weight, and there are people who remember Elena. People who never forgave her for leaving. Why would they care? She's dead. But you're not. He stood, walking to the windows, hands in his pockets. In our world, bloodlines matter. Debts pass down. Grudges pass down. If someone wanted revenge for what Elena did, for the disrespect of abandoning the family, they'd come for you. Sophia's stomach twisted. That's insane. That's reality. She stood, pacing, trying to process. So what am I supposed to do? Hide forever? Change my name like she did? You could. Rivaldi turned to face her. Or you could step into it. Learn how this world works. Learn how to protect yourself. By becoming one of you? By understanding what you already are. I'm not a criminal. Neither was Elena. Not at first. His voice softened just slightly. But she married into it. And whether you like it or not, you inherited that choice. Sophia stopped pacing. I didn't choose any of this. No, you didn't, but here you are. The silence between them was heavy. Sophia looked down at the letter again. Don't trust anyone, especially not family. Why are you helping me? She asked. Rivaldi hesitated. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked uncertain. Because Elena was family, and because I don't believe in punishing someone for the sins of their ancestors. But other people do. Yes. So I'm a target. You're a complication, which makes you valuable. Or dangerous, depending on who's asking. Sophia's phone buzzed. Another update from the hospital. Patient stable, vitals improving. She stared at the screen. Her mother was getting better. Because of him. Because Luca Rivaldi had made a phone call and suddenly the impossible was possible. That kind of power didn't come free. What do you want from me? Sophia asked quietly. Right now? I want you to stay alive. And later? He didn't answer. That was answer enough. Bob. The next 2 days passed in a strange, suspended rhythm. Sophia stayed in the penthouse. Rivaldi came and went. He didn't explain where he was going or what he was doing, and she didn't ask. She spent most of her time reading everything in the envelope, searching for clues her grandmother might have left behind. There weren't many. Elena had been careful. She'd covered her tracks, changed her identity, lived quietly. The only mistake she'd made was keeping the perfume and passing it down. On the third morning, Rivaldi appeared with a different kind of envelope. This one was thicker. He set it on the table without a word. Sophia opened it. Inside were photographs. Black and white. Old. The first was of a man. Tall, sharp-featured, dark eyes. He was standing in front of a building Sophia didn't recognize, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. That's Matteo, Rivaldi said. Your grandfather. Sophia stared at the photo. She'd never seen him before. Never even known his name until 3 days ago. He looked normal. Not like a criminal. Not like someone dangerous. Just a man. The next photo was of Elena, younger than the one Rivaldi had shown her before. She was smiling, standing beside Matteo, his arm around her shoulders. They looked happy. When was this taken? Sophia asked. 1978, a year before your mother was born. She flipped through the rest of the photos. More of Matteo and Elena. A few of other people, men in suits, women in elegant dresses. A wedding photo. Elena in white, Matteo beside her, both of them surrounded by people Sophia didn't know. They look normal, Sophia said. They were, for a while. What changed? Rivaldi sat down across from her. Matteo's father died. He inherited the business, and the business wasn't legal. What kind of business? Import-export, officially. Unofficially, it was a front for moving money, goods, and people across borders. Sophia set the photos down. And Elena knew? She found out. After they were married. After your mother was born. By then it was too late to walk away without consequences. So she faked her death instead. Yes. And Matteo? He died 2 years later, heart attack. He was 36. Sophia's throat tightened. She didn't know these people. But looking at the photos, seeing them smile, seeing them touch, it felt real. It felt like loss. Did he know, she asked, that she was alive? Rivaldi shook his head. I don't think so. If he did, he never told anyone. That's awful. That's survival. Sophia pushed the photos away. I don't want this, any of it. I know. Then why are you showing me? Boo. Because pretending it doesn't exist won't make it go away. He leaned forward. You asked me what I want from you. I'll tell you. I want you to understand what you're part of. I want you to make an informed choice. And I want you to be ready for what's coming. What's coming? Before he could answer, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, frowned, and answered. Yeah. Sophia watched his expression shift, from neutral to sharp. When? He asked. A pause. How many? Another pause. I'm on my way. He hung up and stood. We need to move. Sophia's pulse spiked. What's wrong? FBI just raided one of my properties. They're asking questions about you. Her stomach dropped. Me? They know you were at Santoro's the night I cleared the restaurant. They know you left with me. And now they're digging. He grabbed his jacket. Get your things. We're leaving. Where are we going? Somewhere they can't find you. Sophia stood, panic rising. Luca, I didn't do anything. Doesn't matter. You're connected to me now. That's enough. He moved toward the elevator, then stopped and turned back. Sophia, you need to decide right now. You can walk away. I'll make sure the FBI doesn't touch you. I'll keep paying for your mother's care. But you'll be on your own. Or you can come with me. And if you do, there's no going back. Her heart was pounding. She thought about her mother, about the hospital bills that were somehow paid, about the life she'd been living, barely surviving, drowning in debt, exhausted and alone. And she thought about the life Rivaldi was offering, dangerous, complicated, wrong, but not alone. I'm coming, she said. He nodded once. Then move. Bacchio. They took a different car this time. Rivaldi drove. No driver. No phone calls. Just silence and the hum of the engine as they cut through Miami traffic. Sophia watched the city blur past, her hands clenched in her lap. Where are we going? A lab. A lab? I have investments, legitimate ones, pharmaceutical research, clean money. He glanced at her. You're going to work there. Sophia blinked. I'm a waitress. Not anymore. I don't have a degree. I don't know anything about... You'll learn. And in the meantime, you'll be off the grid, new identity, new background. The FBI can't touch you if you don't exist. You're erasing me. I'm protecting you. By making me disappear? By giving you a chance to rebuild. His voice was firm. Elena did it. You can too. Sophia stared at him. And what do you get out of this? Peace of mind. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now. She wanted to argue, wanted to push back, but the truth was she didn't have a better option. The FBI was involved now. Even if she walked away, even if Rivaldi kept his word and protected her, she'd spend the rest of her life looking over her shoulder. At least this way, she'd have some control. What happens to my mom? She asked. She stays where she is, private care, covered. I'll make sure she's safe. And me? You start over. The lab was in Coral Gables, tucked inside a research park that looked more like a college campus than a place where illegal money got laundered. Rivaldi pulled into an underground garage and parked in a reserved spot. Follow me, he said. They took an elevator to the 3rd floor. The hallway was sterile. White walls, fluorescent lights, the faint smell of disinfectant. Rivaldi stopped at a door marked administration and knocked twice. The door opened. A woman in her 50s, sharp-eyed and impeccably dressed, looked Sophia up and down. "This her?" the woman asked. "Yeah," Rivaldi said. "Sophia, this is Dr. Nina Ortiz. She runs the facility." Nina stepped aside. "Come in." The office was small but organized, degrees on the wall, a desk covered in neat stacks of paperwork. Nina sat behind the desk and gestured for Sophia to sit across from her. Rivaldi stayed standing by the door. "You have any experience in research?" Nina asked. Sophia shook her head. "No." "Lab work? Data entry?" "No." "Education?" "High school." Nina glanced at Rivaldi. He nodded. She sighed and turned back to Sophia. "Fine. You'll start as an administrative assistant. Filing, data input, basic clerical work. You'll be on payroll under a different name. Don't use your real one. Don't talk about your past. Don't make friends." "Why not?" "Because the less people know, the safer you are." Sophia looked at Rivaldi. He met her gaze but said nothing. "When do I start?" Sophia asked. "Monday," Nina said. "I'll have your paperwork ready by then. In the meantime, Luca will set you up with an apartment, furnished, close to here. Don't deviate from the routine. Home, work, home. That's it." "For how long?" Nina's expression didn't change. "Until it's safe." "And when will that be?" "When Luca says so." Sophia's jaw tightened. She wanted to scream, wanted to walk out, but she didn't, because deep down, she knew this was the best option she had. "Fine," she said. Nina nodded. "Good. You can go." Rivaldi opened the door and Sophia followed him back into the hallway. They walked in silence until they reached the elevator. "She's intense," Sophia said. "She's discreet. That's all that matters." The elevator doors opened. They stepped inside. "Luca," Sophia said quietly, "what happens if the FBI finds me anyway?" He looked at her. "They won't. But if they do, then you don't talk. You lawyer up, and you wait for me to fix it. And if you can't?" His expression hardened. "I always can." The elevator descended. The apartment was in Coconut Grove. Small, one bedroom, clean. Furniture that looked like it came from a catalog. No personality, no history, just a place to exist. Rivaldi handed her a key. "Utilities are covered. Groceries will be delivered weekly. Don't order takeout. Don't invite anyone over. Don't post anything online." "I'm a prisoner." "You're protected." "Same thing." "No." His voice was sharp. "A prisoner has no choice. You chose this." Sophia looked at him. "Did I?" He didn't answer. She walked into the apartment and set her bag down. Rivaldi stayed in the doorway. "I'll check in tomorrow," he said. "Luca." He stopped. "Why are you really doing this?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Because I don't want your blood on my hands." "That's not... It's the truth." He turned to leave, then paused. "Get some rest, Sophia. Monday's going to be hard." The door closed behind him. Sophia stood alone in the empty apartment, staring at the blank walls, and wondered if this was what her grandmother had felt like when she'd first disappeared. Free, and completely trapped. Monday came too fast. Sophia reported to the lab at 8. Nina handed her a badge with a name that wasn't hers, Rebecca Lawson, and a stack of files to organize. The work was mindless, alphabetizing, data entry, scanning documents. She kept her head down, didn't talk to anyone unless she had to. But she noticed things. The lab had 2 floors. The first was legitimate. Pharmaceutical research, clinical trials, FDA-approved studies. The second floor was restricted, badge access only. She never saw anyone go up there except Nina and a few other senior staff. On her 3rd day, Sophia saw Rivaldi enter through a side door and head straight for the elevator to the 2nd floor. He didn't acknowledge her, didn't even look in her direction. Whatever was happening up there, it wasn't research. That night, Sophia sat in her apartment and stared at the ceiling. She thought about calling her mother, but she didn't have her real phone anymore. Rivaldi had taken it and given her a burner. No contacts, no history. She thought about running, but where would she go? She thought about the letter her grandmother had left. Don't trust anyone, especially not family. And she thought about Luca Rivaldi, the man who'd pulled her out of one life and shoved her into another without asking if she wanted it. She didn't trust him, but she didn't have anyone else. Shaiki. 2 weeks passed, then 3. Sophia fell into a rhythm, work, home, work, home. She saw Rivaldi twice, once in passing at the lab, once when he stopped by her apartment to check in. Both times the conversation was brief. You good? Yeah. Need anything? No. Okay. He'd leave, and she'd be alone again. But on the 23rd day, everything changed. Sophia was filing paperwork when Nina appeared beside her desk. Rebecca, Nina said, come with me. Sophia followed her to the elevator. Nina scanned her badge, and the elevator doors opened. Second floor, Nina said. Sophia's pulse quickened. Why? Luca wants to see you. They rode up in silence. The second floor was different, darker, quieter. The walls were soundproofed. The lights were dimmer. Nina led her to a door at the end of the hall and knocked. Come in, Rivaldi's voice called. Nina opened the door and stepped aside. Sophia walked in. The room was a private office, but it didn't look like Nina's. This one had monitors on the walls, security feeds, financial data, maps, a desk covered in folders, and Rivaldi standing by the window, hands in his pockets. Close the door, he said. Nina left. The door clicked shut. Sophia stood in the center of the room, arms crossed. What's this about? Rivaldi turned to face her. His expression was unreadable. The FBI came to your mother's hospital. Sophia's heart stopped. What? They questioned her, asked about you, about Elena, about me. What did she say? She told them she didn't know where you were, that you'd disappeared. He paused. They didn't believe her. Sophia's hands were shaking. Is she okay? For now, but they're not going to stop. They think you're involved in something. I'm not. I know. But perception is reality. He moved closer. Sophia, this is escalating faster than I expected. If the FBI keeps digging, they're going to find connections. They're going to find the lab. And when they do, everyone here becomes a target. So what are you saying? I'm saying you need to decide right now. Are you in or are you out? I thought I already decided. You decided to hide. That's not the same as being in. Sophia stared at him. What's the difference? If you're in, you stop being a victim. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You learn how this world works, and you take control of it. And if I'm out, then I put you on a plane tonight. New identity, new city. You never see your mother again. You never see Miami again. You disappear completely. Her chest tightened. You do that? If that's what you want, yes. Sophia looked away. She thought about her mother, about the life she'd left behind, about the life she was living now, nameless, faceless, trapped. And she thought about what her grandmother had done, how she'd run, how she'd hidden, how she'd spent 40 years looking over her shoulder. Sophia didn't want that. I'm in, she said. Rivaldi studied her. You're sure? I'm sure. He nodded slowly. Then we start tomorrow. Start what? Teaching you how to survive. He walked to the desk, pulled out a folder, and handed it to her. Inside were documents, contracts, legal papers, and at the bottom, a small velvet box. Sophia opened it. Inside was a necklace, gold chain, a small pendant, a glass vial filled with amber liquid. What is this? She asked. The original perfume, the one Elena wore, the one that started all of this. Rivaldi's voice was quiet. It's yours now. Sophia stared at the vial. Why are you giving this to me? Because you're not hiding anymore. And if you're going to step into this world, you need to own what you are. She closed the box. Her hands were steady now. What happens next? She asked. Rivaldi met her gaze. Next, we make sure no one ever mistakes you for a victim again. And in that moment, Sophia understood. There was no going back. She'd crossed the line. And Luca Rivaldi, whether he meant to or not, had just made her part of something she couldn't escape. Not now, not ever. The training started the next morning at 5. Sophia woke to her phone buzzing, a text from an unknown number downstairs. 5 minutes. She dragged herself out of bed, pulled on clothes, and made it to the street in 4. A black SUV was waiting, engine running. The back door opened. Rivaldi wasn't inside. A man she'd never seen before sat in the driver's seat, older, graying at the temples, eyes that had seen too much. He didn't introduce himself. "Get in," he said. Sophia climbed into the back. The door closed and they pulled away from the curb. "Where are we going?" she asked. "You'll see." They drove for 30 minutes, leaving the city behind, heading west into industrial territory. Warehouses, empty lots, chain-link fences topped with razor wire. The SUV turned into a gated compound, and the driver punched in a code. The gate rolled open. Inside, the compound was larger than it looked from the street. A main building, concrete, no windows. A few smaller structures scattered around the perimeter, security cameras on every corner. The driver parked and got out. Sophia followed. He led her to the main building, through a steel door that required a key card, down a narrow hallway that smelled like sweat and gun oil. At the end of the hall was another door. He opened it and stepped aside. Inside. Sophia walked in. The room was a gym, or something like it. Mats on the floor, punching bags hanging from the ceiling, a shooting range along the far wall, and in the center of it all, Rivaldi, dressed in a t-shirt and dark pants, arms crossed, watching her. "You're late," he said. "I was here in 4 minutes." "I said 5. That means 4. He gestured to the mats. "Shoes off. Let's go." Sophia kicked off her sneakers and stepped onto the mat. "What is this?" "Self-defense. I don't need—" "Yes, you do." He moved toward her, hands loose at his sides. "You want to survive in this world? You need to know how to protect yourself, how to read people, how to fight back when words don't work." "I'm not a fighter." "You are now." Before she could respond, he lunged. Sophia barely had time to react. Rivaldi grabbed her wrist, twisted, and in one smooth motion had her face down on the mat, arm pinned behind her back. "Lesson 1, he said, voice calm. "Don't freeze." He let go. Sophia rolled onto her back, breath coming hard. "What the hell?" "Get up." She stood, anger flaring. "You can't just—" He came at her again. This time she tried to move, tried to dodge, but he was faster. He swept her legs and she hit the mat hard, the impact knocking the air from her lungs. "Lesson 2, Rivaldi said, standing over her. "Speed doesn't matter if you don't know where to move." Sophia's chest heaved. She wanted to scream at him, wanted to walk out, but she didn't. Because somewhere in the back of her mind, she understood. This wasn't cruelty, this was preparation. She got up. They went again, and again, and again. By the end of the first hour, Sophia had hit the mat more times than she could count. Her body ached. Her pride was shattered. But she was still standing. Rivaldi handed her a water bottle. "Better." "I didn't land a single hit." "You will." He wiped sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand. "This isn't about winning. It's about not losing." "What's the difference?" "Winning means you walk away clean. Not losing means you walk away alive." He capped his own water bottle. "In this world, alive is enough." Sophia drank, her hands still shaking from adrenaline. "How long do we do this?" "Every day, until you don't freeze anymore." "And then?" "Then we move to phase 2, which is—" Rivaldi's expression darkened. "Learning how to lie." Phase 2 started 3 days later. Sophia walked into the same building, expecting more mats, more bruises. Instead, Rivaldi led her to a different room. This one had a table, 2 chairs, and a mirror that she immediately recognized as one-way glass. "Sit," Rivaldi said, gesturing to one of the chairs. She sat. He sat across from her, hands folded on the table. "What is this?" Sophia asked. "Interrogation training?" "I'm not going to get interrogated. You already have been. Your mother, the hospital. The FBI asked her questions, and she didn't have answers. Next time, they'll ask you, and you need to know how to handle it." Sophia's stomach tightened. "What am I supposed to say?" "Nothing. That's the point." Rivaldi leaned back. "Rule 1. You don't volunteer information. Ever. They ask a question, you answer with the bare minimum. They push, you push back. They threaten, you lawyer up. That sounds like guilt. That sounds like survival. His gaze was steady. The FBI doesn't care about the truth. They care about building a case. If you give them anything at all, they'll use it against you. I don't have anything to give. You think that matters? Rivaldi's voice hardened. You're connected to me. That's enough. They'll dig until they find something, and if they can't find it, they'll create it. Sophia swallowed. So what do I do? You practice. He pulled out a small recorder and set it on the table. I'm going to ask you questions. You're going to answer, and I'm going to tell you every mistake you make. Now? Now. He pressed record. State your name for the record. Sophia hesitated. Rebecca Lawson. Wrong. Rivaldi stopped the recording. You hesitated. That tells me you're lying. Try again. They went through it 20 times, 30. Rivaldi asked questions, some simple, some designed to trap her. Where do you work? Who do you know? How did you meet Luca Rivaldi? Have you ever been involved in illegal activity? Every time she slipped, he stopped her. Every time she volunteered information, he shut her down. By the end of the session, Sophia's head was pounding. You're getting better, Rivaldi said, turning off the recorder. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Good. That means you're paying attention. He stood. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be consistent. If your story doesn't change, they can't break you. And if they do, then you call me and I fix it. Sophia looked up at him. You keep saying that, but what if you can't? Rivaldi's jaw tightened. Then we both have a problem. The weeks blurred together. Training in the mornings, work at the lab in the afternoons, more training in the evenings. Sophia's body adapted, her reflexes sharpened. She started landing hits, not many, but enough to prove she wasn't helpless anymore. And through it all, Rivaldi watched, corrected, pushed, but he never explained why. On the 34th day, Sophia finally asked. They were in the gym, finishing up a session. Sophia was on her back again, but this time she'd managed to block Rivaldi's initial grab and force him to adjust. Progress. Why are you doing this? She asked, staring at the ceiling, breath ragged. Rivaldi was standing a few feet away, barely winded. Doing what? All of this. The training, the protection, the new identity. You say it's because I'm family, but you didn't even know I existed a month ago. He didn't answer right away. Just stood there, hands on his hips, staring at the far wall. My father used to say that family isn't about blood, he said finally. It's about loyalty, about who you'd burn the world down for. He looked at her. Elena left because she didn't have that. She didn't have anyone willing to protect her, so she protected herself. And you think I need you to protect me? I think you deserve the choice she didn't have. Sophia sat up slowly, wiping sweat from her face. What if I don't want it? Then you walk away, like I said before. His voice was calm. But you're still here. So I don't think that's true. He was right. She hated that he was right. What happens when the FBI stops looking? Sophia asked. They won't. But if they do, they won't. Rivaldi's tone was final. This doesn't end, Sophia. Not for you. Not for me. The moment you stepped into my world, you became part of it. And the only way out is death. The words hung in the air between them. Sophia stood. That's a hell of a sales pitch. It's the truth. Yeah. She grabbed her water bottle. I'm starting to realize that's all you give me. She walked out before he could respond. That night, Sophia couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying Rivaldi's words over and over. The only way out is death. Her phone buzzed. A text from the hospital. Patient condition critical. Contact immediately. Sophia's heart stopped. She called the number. A nurse answered. Miss Lawson, your mother's oxygen levels have dropped significantly. We're moving her back to ICU. The doctor wants to speak with you. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She hung up, threw on clothes, and grabbed her keys. She didn't think. Didn't call Rivaldi, just ran. The hospital was 15 minutes away. Sophia made it in 10. She burst through the ICU doors, found her mother's room, and stopped cold. Two men in dark suits were standing outside the door, FBI. She recognized the look, the posture, the cheap ties, the way they watched her approach like wolves sizing up prey. One of them stepped forward. Rebecca Lawson? Sophia's stomach dropped. They knew the fake name, which meant they'd been digging. "Who's asking?" she said, keeping her voice steady. The man pulled out a badge. "Special Agent Marcus Reyes, this is Agent Torres. We'd like to ask you a few questions." "About what?" "About your relationship with Luca Rivaldi." Sophia's pulse spiked, but she kept her face neutral. "I don't know who that is." Reyes smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Really? Because we have footage of you leaving Santoro's restaurant with him 4 weeks ago. We have financial records showing he's paying for your mother's care. And we have testimony from multiple sources placing you at a facility owned by one of his shell companies." "I don't know what you're talking about. Miss Lawson, or should I say Miss Vale, we know who you are. We know your grandmother was Elena Santino. We know Rivaldi has taken an interest in you. What we don't know is why." Reyes stepped closer. "So, here's your chance. Help us understand. Tell us what Rivaldi's planning. Tell us what he's using you for. And maybe we can work something out." Sophia's throat was dry. "I want a lawyer." Torres laughed. "Of course you do." Reyes didn't laugh. He just watched her, eyes cold. "You think Rivaldi's protecting you? He's not. He's using you. And when he's done, he'll throw you away like everyone else." "I said I want a lawyer." "Fine." Reyes pulled out a card and handed it to her. "When you're ready to talk, and you will be, call me. Because right now, you're the only leverage we have. And if you don't cooperate, we'll make sure your mother loses her coverage. We'll make sure you lose everything." He walked away. Torres followed. Sophia stood frozen, the card burning in her hand. She wanted to scream, wanted to throw the card in their faces, but she didn't, because deep down she knew they weren't bluffing. She shoved the card in her pocket and walked into her mother's room. Her mother looked worse than before, pale, fragile. Machines beeping softly around her. An oxygen mask covered her face. Sophia sat down beside the bed and took her mother's hand. It was cold. "I'm sorry," Sophia whispered. "I'm so sorry." Her mother didn't respond, didn't even open her eyes. Sophia sat there for an hour, holding her hand, trying to figure out what the hell she was supposed to do. When she finally left, the FBI agents were gone, but the damage was done. She called Rivaldi from the parking lot. He answered on the first ring. "Where are you?" "The hospital. The FBI was here." Silence. "What did you tell them?" His voice was sharp. "Nothing. I lawyered up." "Good. Stay there. I'm coming." "Luca, stay there." He hung up. Sophia leaned against her car, hands shaking. She wanted to run, wanted to disappear, but she didn't know where to go. 15 minutes later, Rivaldi's SUV pulled into the lot. He got out, walked over, and grabbed her by the arm. "Get in." "Luca, they know it. I know what they know. Get in the car." She got in. He slid into the driver's seat and pulled out of the lot, driving fast but controlled. "They threatened my mom," Sophia said. "They said they'd pull her coverage if I don't cooperate." "They can't." "They seem pretty sure they could." Rivaldi's jaw was tight. "They're bluffing, trying to scare you. It's working." He didn't respond, just drove. They ended up back at the penthouse. Rivaldi paced while Sophia sat on the couch, trying to process. "This is escalating," he said, "faster than I expected." "You keep saying that. What does it mean?" "It means someone's feeding them information. Someone on the inside." Sophia's blood went cold. "Who?" "I don't know yet, but I will." He stopped pacing and looked at her. "Until then, you stay here. No hospital, no lab, no contact with anyone." "I can't just abandon my mother." "You're not. I'll have someone check on her, but you can't go back. Not now." "Luca, Sophia." His voice was firm. "If the FBI gets you in a room, they will break you. They will offer you deals you can't refuse, and they will use your mother as leverage. The only way to protect her is to stay away." Sophia's throat tightened. "This is insane. This is reality." She wanted to argue, wanted to fight, but she was too tired. "Fine," she said quietly. "I'll stay." Rivaldi nodded. Good. I'll be back in a few hours. Where are you going? To find out who's talking. He left. Sophia sat alone in the penthouse, staring at the city lights, and wondered how everything had fallen apart so fast. The man. Rivaldi came back 6 hours later. His knuckles were bruised. Sophia didn't ask. We have a problem, he said, dropping into the chair across from her. Another one? The FBI has a witness, someone who claims they saw you at the lab, someone who's willing to testify that you're involved in illegal activity. Sophia's stomach dropped. Who? Nina. The name hit like a punch. What? Nina Ortiz. She cut a deal. Immunity in exchange for testimony. Sophia stood, pacing. That doesn't make sense. She's the one who brought me in. She's the one who's saving her own ass. Rivaldi's voice was cold. She gave them everything. Your fake identity, your connection to me, the lab, all of it. Why? Because they threatened her with 20 years, and she chose herself. Sophia's hands were shaking. What does this mean? It means the FBI has enough to bring you in, to charge you as an accomplice. And once they do, they'll offer you the same deal. Testify against me or go to prison. I won't. You say that now. I mean it. Rivaldi looked at her, really looked. You don't know what prison's like, what it does to people. If they put you in a room and tell you that cooperating is the only way to save your mother, I won't betray you. Everyone breaks, Sophia. Everyone. The word stung. So what do we do? She asked. Rivaldi stood. We disappear. Tonight. New city. New identities. We burn everything and start over. And my mother? I'll make arrangements. She'll be taken care of. By who? If we're gone, by people I trust. People the FBI can't touch. Sophia shook her head. I can't leave her. You don't have a choice. There's always a choice. Not anymore. Rivaldi's voice was hard. You crossed the line, Sophia. You're in this now. And the only way to survive is to let go of everything you were before. Sophia stared at him. You're asking me to abandon my mother. I'm asking you to stay alive. That's not living. It's better than the alternative. The silence between them was suffocating. Sophia turned away, pressing her palms against the cool glass of the window. Below, the city stretched out. Endless lights, endless movement, endless noise. Somewhere down there, her mother was lying in a hospital bed, barely breathing. Somewhere down there, federal agents were building a case that would destroy everything. And somewhere inside herself, Sophia felt something crack. I can't do this, she whispered. Yes, you can. No. She turned to face him. I can't. I can't run. I can't hide. I can't keep pretending I'm someone I'm not. Rivaldi's expression didn't change. Then what do you want to do? Sophia took a breath. I want to fight back. Against the FBI? Against all of it. Her voice was stronger now. They think I'm weak. They think I'll break. But they're wrong. Rivaldi studied her. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. Sophia stepped closer. You've spent weeks teaching me how to survive, how to fight, how to lie. Now teach me how to win. Winning against the FBI isn't about strength. It's about leverage. Then find it. Sophia, find it. Her voice was sharp. You said you'd protect me. You said you'd fix this. So fix it. Rivaldi's jaw tightened. If I do this, if I go after them, there's no going back for either of us. I know. You'll be tied to me. Completely. No more half measures. No more pretending you're not part of this. I stopped pretending the moment I got in your car. He held her gaze for a long moment. Then he nodded. Okay, he said quietly. We do this my way. No hesitation. No second guessing. Agreed. Rivaldi pulled out his phone and made a call. Enzo, I need everything on Special Agent Marcus Reyes. Personal, professional, financial. I want to know where he's vulnerable. He hung up. What now? Sophia asked. Now, we wait. And when the time comes, we make sure the FBI regrets ever coming after you. Sophia nodded. Her hands were steady now, her mind clear. She'd made her choice. and there was no going back. Checo. 3 days later, Rivaldi had what he needed. He spread the files across the table in the penthouse. Photos, bank statements, emails. Sophia leaned over them, scanning. Marcus Reyes, Rivaldi said. 17 years with the Bureau, decorated agent, clean record, married, 2 kids, mortgage in Coral Springs. So he's got a gambling problem. Rivaldi tapped one of the bank statements. Lost $40,000 in the last 6 months, offshore accounts, unreported. Sophia's eyes widened. The FBI doesn't know? Not yet, but they will, unless he backs off. You're going to blackmail a federal agent? I'm going to give him a choice. Rivaldi's voice was calm. He walks away from you, or I send this to his superiors. He loses his career, his pension, his family, everything. Sophia stared at the documents. And if he doesn't back off? Then we make sure he can't hurt anyone ever again. The weight of his words settled over her. When do we do this? She asked. Tonight. They met Reyes in a parking garage downtown. Neutral ground. Rivaldi had arranged it through a third party. No names, no phones, just a time and a place. Reyes was already there when they arrived, standing beside his car, arms crossed. He didn't look surprised to see them. Rivaldi, he said. I was wondering when you'd show up. Agent Reyes. Rivaldi's tone was polite, almost friendly. Thanks for coming. I didn't have much choice. You always have a choice. Rivaldi pulled out the folder and tossed it onto the hood of Reyes's car. That's yours. Take a look. Reyes opened it. His expression didn't change as he flipped through the pages, but Sophia saw his jaw tighten. Where did you get this? Reyes asked quietly. Does it matter? It's fabricated. It's real, and you know it. Rivaldi stepped closer. $40,000. Offshore gambling, tax evasion. That's federal time, Reyes. You know that better than anyone. Reyes closed the folder. What do you want? You drop the investigation into Sophia Vale. You stop harassing her mother. You walk away. I can't do that. Yes, you can. Reyes looked at Sophia. You know what he is, right? What he does? I know, Sophia said. And you're still with him? I'm still standing here. Reyes shook his head. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. Reyes turned back to Rivaldi. Even if I walk away, someone else will pick this up. You can't blackmail the entire Bureau. I don't need to. I just need you. Rivaldi's voice was cold. You're the lead agent. You're the one building the case. Without you, it falls apart, and we both know it. Reyes was silent for a long moment. Then he picked up the folder and tossed it back to Rivaldi. Fine, he said. I'll back off. But this doesn't end here. Sooner or later, you'll slip. And when you do, I'll be there. I'm counting on it. Rivaldi smiled. It was a dangerous smile. Drive safe, Agent Reyes. Reyes got in his car and drove away. Sophia let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Is it over? For now? And later? Rivaldi looked at her. Later, we deal with later. They walked back to the SUV in silence. Sophia's mind was racing. She'd just watched Luca Rivaldi blackmail a federal agent, and she hadn't stopped him. She'd helped him. As they drove back to the penthouse, Sophia stared out the window, watching the city lights blur past. She'd crossed another line tonight, a bigger one. And somewhere deep inside, she knew there was no coming back from this. She wasn't Sophia Vale anymore. She wasn't Rebecca Lawson. She was something else entirely, something she didn't have a name for yet. But she would, soon. Matti. The next morning, Sophia's phone rang. It was the hospital. She answered, her heart already sinking. Miss Lawson? The nurse's voice was shaking. I'm so sorry. Your mother passed away an hour ago. We did everything we could. Sophia's world stopped. The phone slipped from her hand. Rivaldi caught it. He listened to the nurse, said something Sophia didn't hear, and hung up. Sophia, he said gently. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't move. Her mother was gone, and she hadn't been there. She'd been too busy playing games with federal agents and crime lords to be there when her mother took her last breath. Rivaldi reached for her, but she pulled away. Don't, she said, her voice breaking. Sophia, don't touch me. She walked to the window, pressed her forehead against the glass, and let the grief wash over her. Her mother was gone, and it was her fault. Behind her, Rivaldi stood in silence, hands at his sides, watching her fall apart. And for the first time since she'd met him, he didn't know what to say, because there was nothing to say. The only person Sophia had left to protect was gone, and now all that remained was the choice she'd already made, the choice that had cost her everything. Sophia didn't go to the funeral. She couldn't. The FBI would be watching, waiting for her to show up so they could serve her with a subpoena or drag her in for questioning. Rivaldi had made that clear. So instead, she sat in the penthouse while strangers buried her mother in a cemetery she'd never see. Rivaldi arranged everything: the casket, the plot, the headstone. He didn't ask for permission, just handled it, like he handled everything else. Sophia didn't thank him. She sat by the window for 3 days, staring at nothing, feeling nothing. The grief was there. She could feel it pressing against her ribs, threatening to crack her open. But she wouldn't let it. If she let it in, she'd drown. So she locked it down, shoved it into a corner of herself, and built walls around it. On the 4th day, Rivaldi walked into the penthouse and found her in the same spot. "You need to eat," he said. She didn't respond. "Sophia, I'm fine." "You're not." She turned to look at him. Her eyes were hollow. "What do you want me to say? That I'm broken? That I can't do this anymore? Is that what you're waiting for?" "I'm not waiting for anything." "Then leave me alone." Rivaldi didn't move. "Your mother's gone. I know that. And I know you're angry, but sitting here won't bring her back." "I know that." "Then get up." Sophia's jaw tightened. "Why? So I can keep pretending I'm someone I'm not? So I can keep playing this game you dragged me into? You're not playing anything. You're surviving." "This isn't surviving. This is dying slowly." Rivaldi crossed the room and crouched in front of her, forcing her to meet his gaze. "You want to die? Fine. I'll walk out right now. I'll let the FBI have you. I'll let whoever else is looking for you find you. And you can see how long you last." Sophia's hands clenched into fists. "You don't get to do that." "Do what?" "Act like you care." "I do care." "Bullshit," her voice cracked. "You care about what I represent, about the bloodline, about the leverage, but you don't care about me." Rivaldi's expression didn't change. "You're wrong." "Am I?" He stood, stepping back. "Believe what you want. But I'm not the one who kept you alive this long. You did that. You made the choice to stay. You made the choice to fight. So if you want to give up now, that's on you, not me." He walked toward the elevator. "Where are you going?" Sophia asked. "To deal with a problem." "What problem?" He didn't answer. The elevator doors closed. Sophia sat alone in the silence, her chest tight, her mind racing. She hated him, hated that he was right, hated that she didn't have the strength to walk away. But most of all, she hated that some small, stubborn part of her still wanted to prove him wrong. She stood, walked to the bathroom, looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back was a stranger. Hollow eyes, sharp cheekbones, hair that hadn't been washed in days. She looked like someone who'd already died and just hadn't realized it yet. Sophia turned on the shower, stripped, stepped under the water and let it scald her skin until she couldn't tell the difference between the heat and the pain. When she finally got out, she felt something close to human again. She dressed, pulled her hair back, and waited for Rivaldi to come back. But he returned 6 hours later, his knuckles bruised again, a cut above his eyebrow that hadn't been there before. Sophia was sitting at the dining table, a cup of cold coffee in front of her. "What happened?" she asked. "Nina Ortiz is dead." The words hung in the air. Sophia's stomach dropped. "What?" "Someone got to her before I could." Rivaldi poured himself a drink, downed it, and poured another. "She was found in her apartment this morning. Single gunshot. Execution style." "Who did it?" "I don't know yet. But whoever it was, they wanted to send a message." "What kind of message?" Rivaldi looked at her. "That no one gets to walk away. Not her, not you, not me." Sophia's pulse quickened. You think they're coming for me? I think they're cleaning up loose ends, and you're the biggest one left. Then we leave. Tonight. Like you said before. It's too late for that. Rivaldi set his glass down. Nina's death just made you a material witness. The FBI is going to want to talk to you, and if you run, they'll assume you're guilty. I didn't do anything. Doesn't matter. Perception is reality. Sophia stood, pacing. So what do we do? We find out who killed her, and we make sure they can't get to you. How? Rivaldi pulled out his phone, scrolled through something, then turned the screen toward her. It was a photo. A man. Mid-40s, expensive suit, cold eyes. Dominic Caruso, Rivaldi said. He's a fixer. Works for families that want problems to disappear. If Nina was killed, he's the one who did it. Why would someone hire him to kill Nina? Because she knew too much. About the lab. About the money. About me. Rivaldi pocketed his phone. And now that she's dead, the only other person who knows all of it is you. Sophia's breath caught. You think Caruso's coming for me? I know he is. Then we go to the FBI. We tell them what? That a professional killer is after you because you're connected to organized crime? They'll put you in protective custody, and the moment they do, you're a sitting duck. Caruso's good. He'll find a way in. So we do nothing? No. Rivaldi's voice was hard. We do what we do best. We fight back. Peace. They spent the next 12 hours preparing. Rivaldi made calls, pulled in favors, gathered information. By the time the sun set, he had a location, a hotel in South Beach, where Caruso was staying under a false name. We hit him before he hits us, Rivaldi said, loading a pistol with methodical precision. Sophia watched from across the room. You're going to kill him? If I have to. And if you don't have to, then I'll make him wish I had. Rivaldi checked the magazine, slid it back into place. You're staying here. No. He looked up. This isn't a negotiation. I'm not asking for permission. Sophia stepped closer. You said I needed to learn how to survive. Well, I'm done sitting on the sidelines. If Caruso's coming for me, I want to see his face. Sophia, I'm coming. Rivaldi stared at her. You're not ready for this. I'll never be ready. But I'm done waiting. Her voice was steady. You taught me how to fight. Now let me use it. He held her gaze for a long moment. Then he nodded. Fine, but you stay behind me. You don't engage unless I tell you to. And if things go sideways, you run. Understood? Understood. He handed her a gun. You remember how to use this? Yeah. Safety's here. Magazine release here. Don't aim unless you're ready to shoot. And if you shoot, don't stop until the threat's down. Sophia took the gun. It was heavier than she remembered, colder. Let's go, Rivaldi said. The hotel was upscale. Art Deco architecture. Valet parking. Tourists in linen shirts wandering through the lobby like they didn't have a care in the world. Rivaldi and Sophia walked in like they belonged. He'd changed into a suit. She wore a dress, dark, simple, forgettable. They looked like a couple checking in for the weekend. No one looked twice. They took the elevator to the 7th floor. Rivaldi led the way down the hallway, stopped in front of room 714, and knocked. No answer. He knocked again. Waited. Still nothing. Rivaldi pulled out a key card. Sophia didn't ask where he'd gotten it, and swiped it. The lock clicked. He pushed the door open slowly, gun drawn. The room was empty. Sophia stepped inside, her heart pounding. The bed was made, no luggage, no personal items, just the faint smell of cologne and something else, something metallic. He's not here, Sophia whispered. No, Rivaldi's voice was tight. But he was. He crossed to the bathroom, opened the door, and stopped. Sophia followed, and then she saw it. Written on the mirror in red lipstick. You're next. Her blood ran cold. Rivaldi's jaw tightened. We need to leave. Now. They turned toward the door. It slammed shut. A man stepped out from behind it. Tall, lean, dressed in black. Dominic Caruso. He was holding a gun aimed directly at Rivaldi's chest. Luca Rivaldi, Caruso said, his voice smooth. I was hoping you'd show up. Rivaldi didn't move. Caruso, you've been making a lot of noise lately. Thought it was time we had a conversation. I'm not interested in talking. Too bad. Caruso's gaze shifted to Sophia. And you must be the girl everyone's so worried about. Elena's granddaughter. You don't look like much. Sophia's grip tightened on her gun, still hidden beneath her jacket. Leave her out of this, Rivaldi said. Can't do that. See, I was hired to clean up a mess. And she's part of it. Caruso smiled. It was a cold, empty thing. Nothing personal, sweetheart. Just business. Who hired you? Rivaldi asked. Does it matter? It does to me. Caruso tilted his head. Let's just say there are people who don't appreciate loose ends. People who remember what Elena did, and they want to make sure her bloodline doesn't cause any more problems. Sophia's stomach twisted. This is about my grandmother? She stole something when she left. Something valuable. And now they want it back. I don't have anything. Maybe. Maybe not. But they don't care. They just want you gone. Caruso's finger moved to the trigger. So here's how this works. You're going to come with me, quietly. And if you do, I'll make it quick. If you don't... Rivaldi moved. He was fast. Faster than Sophia had ever seen him. He lunged, knocking Caruso's gun arm to the side, just as the shot went off. The bullet punched into the wall behind them. Caruso recovered instantly, driving an elbow into Rivaldi's ribs. Rivaldi grunted, but didn't let go. They crashed into the dresser, locked together, each trying to gain control of the gun. Sophia pulled her own weapon, but she couldn't get a clear shot. They were moving too fast, too close together. Caruso slammed Rivaldi's hand against the wall. The gun clattered to the floor. Rivaldi responded with a brutal headbutt. Caruso staggered back, blood streaming from his nose. Run! Rivaldi shouted at Sophia. She didn't. Caruso wiped the blood from his face and smiled. You've still got some fight in you. Good. This'll be fun. He pulled a knife from his belt, sleek, sharp, meant for close work. Rivaldi didn't hesitate. He grabbed a lamp from the nightstand and swung. Caruso dodged, slashed with the knife. The blade caught Rivaldi's forearm, slicing through fabric and skin. Blood welled up instantly. Rivaldi didn't flinch. He drove forward, slamming Caruso against the wall, pinning the knife hand. They struggled, muscle against muscle, neither giving an inch. Sophia's hands were shaking. She raised her gun, trying to aim, but her vision was blurring with adrenaline. Caruso's free hand shot out, grabbing Rivaldi by the throat, squeezing. Rivaldi's face started to darken. His grip on Caruso's wrist weakened. Sophia made a decision. She stepped forward, pressed the barrel of her gun against Caruso's temple, and pulled the trigger. The shot was deafening in the enclosed space. Caruso's body went limp. He collapsed to the floor, blood pooling beneath his head. Rivaldi stumbled back, gasping for air, clutching his throat. Sophia stood frozen, the gun still raised, smoke curling from the barrel. She'd just killed someone. The realization hit her like a freight train. Her hands started to shake. The gun slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor. Sophia. Rivaldi's voice was hoarse. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Sophia, look at me. She turned. His eyes were steady, focused. We need to go, he said. Right now. I killed him. I know. I killed him. And if you hadn't, he would have killed me, and then you. Rivaldi grabbed her shoulders. You did what you had to do. Now we move. He pulled her toward the door, grabbing both guns on the way. They stepped into the hallway. It was empty. No one had come running. The hotel was old, thick walls. The shot probably sounded like a car backfiring to anyone who'd heard it. They took the stairs, down 7 flights, out through a side exit, into the Miami night. Rivaldi's SUV was parked 2 blocks away. They got in. He drove. Fast, but not reckless. Just another car in the late-night traffic. Sophia stared at her hands. They were still shaking. There was a small spray of blood on her wrist. Caruso's blood. I killed someone, she said again. Yes. I didn't think I could do that. Everyone thinks that. Until they have to. Does it get easier? Rivaldi was silent for a moment. No. They drove for 20 minutes. Rivaldi pulled into the underground garage of a building Sophia didn't recognize. Another safe house. another temporary refuge. They took the elevator up. Rivaldi unlocked the door and ushered her inside. The apartment was sparse, functional, no personality, just like the last one. Sophia walked to the bathroom, turned on the tap, and scrubbed her hands until the water ran clear. Then she scrubbed them again and again. When she finally looked up, Rivaldi was standing in the doorway. "You okay?" he asked. "No." "Yeah, I didn't think so." She turned off the water, dried her hands. "What happens now?" "Now, we figure out who sent Caruso, and we make sure they don't send anyone else." "How?" "By doing what we should have done from the beginning." Rivaldi's expression hardened. "We go on the offensive." They spent the rest of the night planning. Rivaldi had contacts, people who owed him favors, people who owed him their lives. He started calling them in. By dawn, he had names. 3 families with connections to the old Santino line. 3 families who might have reason to want Elena's bloodline erased. "The Vitales," Rivaldi said, pointing to a photo on his laptop. "They run operations in New York. Old grudges, old debts." "The Morettis," he continued, pulling up another image. "Miami-based. They took over some of Matteo's territory after he died. They might see you as a threat to their claim." "And the Russos," he finished. "They're out of Chicago, distant cousins to the Santinos. If anyone remembers what Elena took when she left, it's them." Sophia looked at the faces. "You think one of them hired Caruso?" "I think all 3 of them know something. The question is which one pulled the trigger." "How do we find out?" Rivaldi closed the laptop. "We ask. Politely at first. And if that doesn't work, we make them talk." He nodded. "You ready for that?" Sophia thought about her mother, about Nina, about Caruso's body lying on that hotel room floor. "Yeah," she said. "I'm ready." They started with the Morettis. The family operated out of a restaurant in Little Havana, a front for their real business, which was money laundering and loan sharking. Rivaldi knew the owner, had done business with him before. They walked in at noon. The lunch rush was just starting. Tourists and locals crowded the tables, oblivious to what the restaurant really was. Rivaldi approached the hostess. "Tell Vincent that Luca Rivaldi needs a word." The hostess's smile faltered. "He's not." "Tell him." She disappeared into the back. 2 minutes later, a man emerged, mid-50s, graying hair, expensive watch. "Vincent Moretti." "Luca," Vincent said, his smile not reaching his eyes. "What a surprise." "We need to talk." "About?" "Dominic Caruso." Vincent's expression didn't change, but Sophia saw the flicker of recognition. "I don't know who that is?" "Yes, you do, and I want to know who paid him to come after me." "I think you've got the wrong guy." Rivaldi stepped closer, his voice dropped. "Don't play games with me, Vincent. I'm not in the mood." Vincent glanced around. The restaurant was full. Too many witnesses. "Not here." "Then where?" "Office, upstairs, 5 minutes." Rivaldi nodded. Vincent disappeared again. "You think he's lying?" Sophia asked quietly. "Everyone's lying. The question is whether he's lying about this." 5 minutes later, they were ushered upstairs to a small office above the restaurant. Vincent was waiting, sitting behind a desk, hands folded. "Close the door," he said. Rivaldi did. Vincent looked at Sophia. "Who's the girl?" "Family." "Yours?" "Mine." Vincent's eyes narrowed. "She's Elena's." It wasn't a question. "Yeah," Rivaldi said. "I heard she was dead." "Elena's dead. The granddaughter's not." Vincent leaned back in his chair. "And you're protecting her?" "I am." "Why?" "Because that's what family does." Vincent laughed. It was a bitter sound. "Family, right. You know what Elena did to us? To all of us?" "Enlighten me." She walked away from everything. From the obligations, from the debts. She took something that wasn't hers and disappeared. And you want to know why that matters? Because the Santino name used to mean something, used to command respect. And when she left, she spit on all of that. That was 40 years ago. And some grudges don't die. Vincent's gaze shifted to Sophia. You look like her, you know. Same eyes. Sophia said nothing. Did you hire Caruso? Rivaldi asked. No. Do you know who did? Vincent hesitated. I might. Talk. There's a price. Rivaldi's jaw tightened. Name it. The Russos. They're the ones you want. They've been asking questions about Elena for months, about what she took, about whether she had any family left. Why do they care? Because Elena didn't just run. She took something from the vault, something that belonged to the family, and the Russos think they have a claim to it. What did she take? I don't know. No one does. But whatever it was valuable enough to fake her death over. Rivaldi processed this. Where are the Russos now? Chicago. But they have people here, and if they sent Caruso, they'll send more. Then I'll deal with them. Vincent stood. Be careful, Luca. The Russos don't play. And if they think the girl knows where Elena hid whatever she took, they won't stop until they get it. She doesn't know. Doesn't matter. They'll make her talk anyway. Rivaldi turned to leave. Luca, Vincent called. One more thing. What? Elena's mistake was running. Don't make the same one. If you're going to fight the Russos, you fight to win, or you don't fight at all. Rivaldi didn't respond. He just walked out, Sophia following. Back in the SUV, Sophia finally spoke. What did my grandmother take? I don't know. But you have an idea. Rivaldi was quiet for a moment. The Santino family vault. It was legendary. Generations of wealth, cash, bonds, artifacts. If Elena took something from it, it wasn't small. Where would she hide it? That's the question. Sophia thought about the letter, the perfume, the life her grandmother had built in secret. Maybe she didn't hide it, Sophia said slowly. Maybe she destroyed it. Why would she do that? To make sure no one could use it against her, or against her family. Rivaldi glanced at her. That's a hell of a theory. It's what I would have done. He almost smiled. Yeah, it is. They drove in silence for a while. We're going to Chicago, aren't we? Sophia asked. No, they're coming here, and when they do, we'll be ready. How do you know they're coming? Because Caruso failed, and the Russos don't tolerate failure. They'll send someone else, someone better. And then what? Rivaldi's hands tightened on the wheel. Then we end this, one way or another. But 3 days later, the Russos made their move. It started with a phone call. Anonymous. Threatening. Rivaldi listened, said nothing, and hung up. They want to meet, he told Sophia. Tomorrow night. Neutral ground. Are we going? We are. It's a trap. Probably. Then why go? Because if we don't, they'll keep coming, and eventually they'll find a way in. This way, we control the where and when. Sophia's stomach churned. What if they kill us? They won't. Not right away. They want answers first. They want to know what Elena took, and they think you know. But I don't. Then we convince them of that. And if we can't? Rivaldi met her gaze. Then we make sure they don't leave that meeting alive. Okay. The meeting was set for midnight in an abandoned warehouse near the port. Rivaldi brought backup. 3 men Sophia didn't know, all of them armed, all of them loyal. They arrived early, set up positions. Rivaldi handed Sophia a gun. Stay close, he said. Don't engage unless you have to. And if things go bad, I run. I know. Good. At midnight, headlights cut through the darkness. 2 cars pulled up. Doors opened. 6 men got out. One of them was older, 60s maybe. Gray hair, tailored suit. He walked with the confidence of someone who'd never had to look over his shoulder. That's Marco Russo, Rivaldi murmured. Head of the family. Marco approached, flanked by his men. Rivaldi stepped forward to meet him. Sophia stayed a few paces back, her hand resting on the gun tucked into her waistband. Luca Rivaldi, Marco said. His voice was smooth, cultured. I've heard a lot about you. Wish I could say the same. Marco smiled. Let's not waste time. You know why I'm here. You want something Elena took. I want what's mine. It's not yours. It never was. Elena was a Santino. Anything she had belonged to the family, and when she ran, she became a thief. She became a survivor. She became a problem. Marco's gaze shifted to Sophia. And now, her granddaughter is my problem. She doesn't have what you're looking for. Then where is it? Gone. Destroyed. Take your pick. Marco's expression hardened. I don't believe you. I don't care what you believe. The tension crackled. Sophia could feel it. The moment before everything exploded. Marco's hand moved toward his jacket. Rivaldi's gun was out before Marco's hand reached fabric. Don't, Rivaldi said quietly. Marco froze. His men drew their weapons. Rivaldi's men did the same. Everyone was armed. Everyone was ready. You're making a mistake, Marco said. No, you are. I can have you killed, both of you, tonight. You can try. Marco's jaw tightened. Last chance, Rivaldi. Tell me where Elena hid it, and I'll let the girl live. She doesn't know. Then she's useless. Marco's hand moved again. Rivaldi fired. The shot echoed through the warehouse. Marco stumbled back, clutching his shoulder, blood seeping through his fingers. All hell broke loose. Gunfire erupted. Sophia dropped to the ground, pulling her weapon, her heart hammering. Bullets ricocheted off metal. Men shouted. Someone screamed. Rivaldi was moving, firing with brutal precision. One of Marco's men went down. Then another. Sophia saw one of the Russo soldiers aiming at Rivaldi's back. She didn't think, just raised her gun and fired. The man dropped. Rivaldi glanced back at her, nodded once, and kept moving. The firefight lasted less than 2 minutes. When it was over, 4 of Marco's men were dead. Marco himself was on his knees, still clutching his wounded shoulder, blood pooling beneath him. Rivaldi's men secured the area. One of them kicked Marco's gun away. Rivaldi walked over and crouched in front of Marco. You came into my city, Rivaldi said quietly. You threatened my family. And now you're going to tell me everything you know about what Elena took. Marco spat blood. Go to hell! Rivaldi pressed his gun against Marco's wounded shoulder. Marco screamed, Start talking! You'll never find it, Marco gasped. Elena hid it too well. Even if you tear this city apart, you'll never... Rivaldi pressed harder. Marco's scream turned into a choked sob. Where is it? I don't know. Marco's voice broke. No one knows, that's the problem. She took it and she vanished and no one's seen it since. What is it? Ledgers, records, names, every deal the Santino family ever made, every politician they owned, every cop they paid off. 40 years of dirt. Marco's breathing was ragged. If those records surface, they don't just destroy the Santinos. They destroy everyone connected to them, including you. Rivaldi's expression didn't change, but Sophia saw the flicker of understanding. Elena hadn't taken money. She'd taken leverage, and she'd used it to disappear. Where would she hide it? Rivaldi asked. If I knew that, I wouldn't be here. Rivaldi stood, looked down at Marco. You're done. You go back to Chicago, and you tell whoever's listening that Sophia Vale is off limits. She doesn't have the ledgers. She doesn't know where they are. And if anyone comes after her again, I'll burn the Russo family to the ground. Understood? Marco said nothing. Rivaldi fired a shot into the concrete beside Marco's head. The sound was deafening. Understood? Yes. Good. Rivaldi gestured to his men. Get him out of here. They dragged Marco to his feet and hauled him toward the remaining car. The engine started. The car pulled away, taillights disappearing into the night. Sophia stood slowly, her legs shaking. She looked at the bodies, at the blood. Is it over? She asked. Rivaldi holstered his gun. For now. And the ledgers? We find them. Before anyone else does. How? He looked at her. You're Elena's granddaughter. If anyone can figure out where she hid them, it's you. Sophia's throat tightened. I don't know where to start. Yes, you do. Rivaldi stepped closer. You just don't realize it yet. He turned and walked toward the SUV. Sophia stood in the empty warehouse, surrounded by the aftermath of violence, and felt the weight of her grandmother's secret settle onto her shoulders. Somewhere, Elena had hidden 40 years of secrets, and now it was Sophia's job to find them, before someone else did. Sophia didn't sleep that night. She sat in the safe house, staring at the necklace Rivaldi had given her weeks ago. the small glass vial filled with the original perfume. The amber liquid caught the light from the window, refracting it into gold fragments across her palm. Rivaldi was in the next room, on the phone with someone, his voice low and controlled. She could hear fragments of the conversation, names she didn't recognize, plans being made, moves being calculated. He was always calculating. Sophia uncapped the vial and inhaled. The scent was the same as the bottle her grandmother had given her, floral, with something darker underneath, something almost bitter. Her grandmother had worn this scent for 40 years, knowing what it meant, knowing what it would cost. And now Sophia wore it too. She heard Rivaldi's footsteps behind her, felt him stop in the doorway. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "No." He walked over, sat down beside her on the couch. His knuckles were still bruised from the fight at the warehouse. A cut above his eyebrow had scabbed over. "We need to talk about the ledgers," he said. "I know. If we don't find them, someone else will. And when they do, I know." Sophia capped the vial and set it on the table. "But I don't know where to start. My grandmother never told me anything. She never even mentioned Italy, never mentioned Matteo. It was like that whole part of her life didn't exist." "Maybe that was the point." Sophia looked at him. "What do you mean?" "If she wanted you to find the ledgers, she would have left you a map, instructions, something." Rivaldi leaned back, his gaze distant. "But she didn't, which means she didn't want them found. Not by you. Not by anyone." "Then why keep them at all? Why not destroy them?" "Because they were her insurance. As long as those ledgers existed, she had leverage. No one could touch her without risking exposure." He paused. "But once she died, that insurance became a target, and you inherited it." Sophia's chest tightened. "So I'm supposed to just live with this hanging over me forever? Unless we find them first." "And do what? Destroy them?" Rivaldi was quiet for a moment. "Or use them." Sophia turned to face him fully. "Use them how?" "The same way Elena did. As leverage, as protection." His voice was steady. "Those ledgers contain 40 years of dirt on some of the most powerful people in the country. Politicians, judges, law enforcement. If we have them, we have control. That's not protection. That's a death sentence. Only if we're careless." Think about it, Sophia. The FBI backs off. The Russos back off. Everyone backs off. Because if they don't, we burn them all. Sophia stood, pacing. "You're talking about blackmail on a massive scale." "I'm talking about survival. It's the same thing my grandmother ran from." "No." Rivaldi's voice hardened. "Your grandmother ran because she was alone. She didn't have anyone to protect her. You do." Sophia stopped pacing, looked at him. "You. Me. And what happens when you decide I'm more trouble than I'm worth?" Rivaldi stood, closing the distance between them. "That's not going to happen." "You don't know that." "I do." His gaze was unwavering. "Because I made a choice the night I found you at that restaurant. I chose to protect you, and I don't go back on my choices." Sophia wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that the man standing in front of her, the man who'd taught her to fight, who'd pulled her out of one life and shoved her into another, actually cared, but trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. "I need to think," she said quietly. Rivaldi nodded. "You've got until morning, then we start looking." He walked back to the other room, leaving her alone with the vial and the weight of a decision she didn't want to make. Morning came too quickly. Sophia woke on the couch, sunlight slanting through the windows. Rivaldi was already awake, sitting at the dining table with his laptop open, papers spread across the surface. "I've been going through Elena's records," he said without looking up. "Bank statements, property deeds, everything I could find." Sophia sat down across from him. "And?" "Nothing obvious. She was careful, kept everything small, unremarkable." He tapped a page. "But there's one thing that stands out." He turned the laptop toward her. On the screen was a property record, a small storage unit in Hialeah, rented under the name Elena Vale. The lease had been paid in advance for 50 years. Sophia's breath caught. When did she rent it? 1981, 3 months after she faked her death. That's where it is. Maybe. Or maybe it's the decoy. A place for the family to look while the real hiding spot stays buried. There's only one way to find out. Rivaldi closed the laptop. We go today, now, before anyone else thinks to look. Sophia nodded. Let's go. The storage facility was in a rundown part of Hialeah, surrounded by chain-link fences and security cameras that probably hadn't worked in years. Rivaldi pulled up to the gate and punched in the access code he'd obtained from the rental company. The gate creaked open. They drove through, parked in front of Unit 247, and got out. Rivaldi pulled a bolt cutter from the trunk and snapped the rusted lock. The metal door rolled up with a screech. Inside was darkness. Rivaldi pulled out a flashlight and swept the beam across the interior. Dust motes danced in the light. The unit was small, maybe 10 by 10, and mostly empty. A few cardboard boxes stacked in the corner. An old suitcase. Nothing that screamed 40 years of incriminating evidence. Sophia stepped inside, her footsteps echoing. She knelt beside the boxes and opened the first one. Old clothes. Her grandmother's. Dresses Sophia vaguely remembered seeing in photos. The second box held books, paperbacks in Italian, a few in English. Nothing valuable. The third box was locked. Sophia's pulse quickened. Luca. He came over, examined the lock, and used the bolt cutter to snap it. The box opened. Inside were files, dozens of them, neatly organized, labeled by year. Sophia pulled one out, opened it. Names, dates, transactions, photographs of men in suits shaking hands, bank account numbers, wire transfers. This is it, Sophia whispered. Rivaldi took the file, scanned through it. His expression darkened. Jesus Christ. What? This isn't just the Santino family. This is everyone. Judges, senators, police chiefs. Half of these people are still in power. Sophia pulled out another file. This one had photos of men she recognized from the news. A governor, a federal prosecutor. All of them tied to deals that would end their careers if they ever became public. Elena wasn't just protecting herself, Sophia said. She was protecting everyone who ever did business with the Santinos. If this gets out, it won't just destroy the family, it'll tear apart the entire infrastructure. Rivaldi set the file down carefully. This is bigger than I thought. What do we do? He looked at her. That's your call. Sophia stared at the files, at the decades of corruption and complicity her grandmother had documented, at the lives that could be ruined, at the power that could be seized. And she thought about the woman who'd kept these secrets, who'd carried them for 40 years, who died without ever letting them see the light of day. We destroy them, Sophia said. Rivaldi blinked. What? We destroy them. All of it. Her voice was firm. This isn't leverage. It's a curse. My grandmother knew that. That's why she never used it. That's why she hid it. Sophia, if we destroy this, we lose our protection. We never had protection. We had a ticking bomb. She met his gaze. You said I had a choice. This is it. I choose to walk away. From the ledgers, from the leverage, from all of it. And if the Russos come back, then we deal with them, without this. Rivaldi was silent for a long moment, then he nodded slowly. Okay. Okay? Your grandmother's legacy. Your call. He pulled out his phone. I'll make arrangements. We'll burn it all. Tonight. They spent the rest of the day moving the files to a secure location, a warehouse Rivaldi owned on the outskirts of the city. Sophia carried each box carefully, feeling the weight of history in her hands. By sunset, everything was in place. Rivaldi had brought gasoline, matches, everything they needed to erase 40 years of secrets. Sophia stood in the center of the warehouse, surrounded by stacks of files, and felt the enormity of what she was about to do. You sure about this? Rivaldi asked. No, but I'm doing it anyway. He handed her the matches. Then do it. Sophia struck a match. The flame flickered to life, small and fragile. She held it for a moment, watching the fire dance. Then she dropped it onto the nearest stack of files. The paper caught instantly. Flames spread, crawling from file to file, devouring names and dates and photographs. The heat built quickly. Smoke filled the air. Rivaldi poured gasoline across the remaining stacks. The fire roared, consuming everything. Sophia watched as her grandmother's insurance policy, the thing that had kept her alive and made her a target, turned to ash. It took an hour for everything to burn. By the time the flames died down, there was nothing left but charred remains and the smell of smoke. Rivaldi kicked through the ashes, making sure nothing was salvageable. It's done. Sophia nodded. She felt lighter and heavier, both at once. What now? She asked. Now, we see if anyone notices. Skates. 3 days passed, then a week, then 2. No one came. The FBI stopped calling. The Russos went quiet. Even the whispers Rivaldi's contacts had been hearing dried up. It was as if the entire world had collectively decided that Sophia Vale wasn't worth the trouble anymore. On the 15th day, Rivaldi took Sophia to the hospital. Her mother had been moved to a private facility, the kind with gardens and quiet hallways and nurses who actually cared. Rivaldi had arranged it before she died, but Sophia hadn't known until now. They walked through the grounds in silence. The air smelled like jasmine. The sun was warm on Sophia's skin. This is where she spent her last days, Rivaldi said. I wanted her to be comfortable. Sophia stopped walking. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were barely holding yourself together, and I didn't want you to feel like you owed me anything. I do owe you. No, you don't. He looked at her. I did this because it was the right thing to do, not because I expected something in return. Sophia's throat tightened. I don't know how to thank you. Then don't. He gestured to a bench beneath a tree. Sit with me for a minute. They sat. Sophia looked out at the garden, at the flowers her mother would have loved. I'm sorry I wasn't there, Sophia said quietly. When she died, I should have been there. She knew you loved her. That's all that matters. Is it? Yeah, it is. They sat in silence for a while. Then Rivaldi spoke. What are you going to do now? He asked. Sophia had been thinking about that question for days. I don't know. Go back to work, I guess. Try to build something normal. You think that's possible? I have to try. Rivaldi nodded. What about us? Sophia looked at him. What about us? You're still tied to me, to this world. Even without the ledgers, people know who you are, what you represent. I know. So what does that mean? Sophia took a breath. It means I stop running. I stop hiding. I figure out how to live with what I am, and I do it on my terms. That's not easy. Nothing about this has been easy. Rivaldi almost smiled. No, it hasn't. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the necklace, the one with the vial of perfume. He handed it to her. Keep it, he said. Or don't. Your choice. Sophia took the necklace, felt the weight of it in her palm. She thought about her grandmother, about the woman who'd worn this scent while building a life in the shadows. And she thought about the woman she was becoming. Not Elena, not a victim, something new. I'll keep it, Sophia said, but not as a reminder of what I lost, as a reminder of what I survived. Rivaldi stood. Then you're going to be fine. You think so? I know so. 1 month later, Sophia stood on the deck of a yacht, miles off the coast of Miami. The ocean stretched endlessly in every direction, the water so blue it hurt to look at. Rivaldi stood beside her, hands in his pockets, watching the horizon. You ever been out here before? He asked. No. It's peaceful. Makes you realize how small everything else is. Sophia looked down at the water. Why did you bring me here? Because I wanted to show you something. He pulled a small box from his pocket and handed it to her. Sophia opened it. Inside was a key. What's this? A place. In Coconut Grove. Near the water. It's yours. Clean title. No strings. Sophia's breath caught. Luca, you said you wanted to build something normal. This is your start. I can't accept this. You already did. He closed her hand around the key. I'm not asking you to stay with me. I'm not asking you for anything. I'm just giving you a choice. A real one. Sophia looked at the key, at the man who'd pulled her out of one life and taught her how to survive in another. Why? She asked. After everything, why do this? Rivaldi was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. Because you're not just Elena's granddaughter. You're not just a complication or a target or a piece on the board. He looked at her, really looked. You're someone who deserves a chance, and I want to be the one who gives it to you. Sophia's chest tightened. What if I screw it up? Then you screw it up and you try again. What if I don't want to do this alone? Rivaldi's expression shifted. Something vulnerable flickered behind his eyes. Then don't. Sophia stepped closer. Are you asking me to stay? I'm asking you to choose. Whatever you want. Wherever you want to be. I'll make it happen. She looked at him, at the man who'd become her anchor in a world that had tried to drown her, at the man who'd shown her how to fight, how to survive, how to stand, and she made her choice. I want to stay, she said, with you. Not because I owe you, not because I'm scared, because I want to. Rivaldi's hand came up, cupping her face gently. You're sure? I'm sure. He kissed her, soft at first, then deeper, like he was claiming something he'd been holding back for weeks. When they pulled apart, Sophia was breathless. What happens now? She asked. Now we build something, together, on our terms. No more running? No more running. Sophia looked out at the endless ocean, at the horizon where water met sky, and for the first time in months, she felt something close to peace. Her grandmother had run, had hidden, had spent 40 years looking over her shoulder. But Sophia wasn't her grandmother. She was something different, something stronger. She was a woman who'd walked through fire and come out the other side. And she wasn't done yet. Back. 6 months later, Sophia stood in the living room of the house Rivaldi had given her, staring at the blank walls and wondering what to put on them. The house was beautiful, modern, light-filled. Nothing like the cramped apartment she'd lived in before. Nothing like the safe houses she'd been shuffled through. This was hers, really hers. She heard the door open behind her. Rivaldi walked in carrying coffee and a bag of pastries from the bakery down the street. You're up early, he said. Couldn't sleep. Still? Yeah. He set the coffee on the counter and walked over, wrapping his arms around her from behind. What's on your mind? Everything. Nothing. She leaned back against him. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for someone to show up and tell me this isn't real. It's real. How do you know? Because I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. Sophia turned in his arms. You promise? I promise. She believed him. Not because he'd never lied to her, she knew he had, in small ways, when it mattered, but because she knew what it cost him to make that promise, and she knew he'd keep it. I've been thinking, Sophia said. About? About what we do next, about what this life looks like. And? I don't want to just exist. I don't want to hide or play it safe. She met his gaze. I want to build something that matters. Rivaldi smiled. Like what? I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. She paused. With you. With me. They stood in the middle of the empty living room, holding each other, and for the first time since her mother died, Sophia felt whole. She wasn't the waitress anymore, wasn't the victim, wasn't the granddaughter of a woman who'd faked her death to escape. She was Sophia Vale, and she was building a life on her own terms, with a man who'd shown her what it meant to survive, and maybe, just maybe, what it meant to live. 1 year later, Sophia sat in a small office above the lab where she'd once filed paperwork under a fake name. The office was hers now, Director of Operations, a title Rivaldi had created for her but one she'd earned through months of work. The lab had expanded. Legitimate research, real funding. They were developing treatments for pulmonary diseases, the kind that had killed her mother. It was Sophia's idea, her project. Her way of turning grief into something that mattered. Rivaldi knocked on the doorframe. You busy? She looked up from her laptop. Always. What's up? He held up a small box. This came for you. Sophia frowned. From who? I don't know. No return address. She took the box, opened it carefully. Inside was a letter. Old paper. Familiar handwriting. Her grandmother's. Sophia's hand shook as she unfolded it. Sophia, if you're reading this, you've made it farther than I ever thought possible. You've survived. You've fought. And you've chosen to stay. I'm proud of you. I left you the perfume because I wanted you to have a choice, to know where you came from, to understand that survival isn't weakness, it's strength. But I also left you something else, something I couldn't risk putting in the ledgers, something that belongs to you alone. In the vault at Banco Nacional in Little Havana, there's an account under your name. I opened it the day you were born. It's yours. Use it to build the life I never could. Don't look back, Sofia. Only forward, with all my love, Nona. Sofia's vision blurred. She set the letter down, her breath coming in shallow gasps. Rivaldi was beside her instantly. What is it? She left me something, an account, money. How much? Sofia pulled out the account number, her hand still shaking. I don't know, but it's mine. She made sure of it. Rivaldi picked up the letter, read it. His expression softened. She was protecting you, even after she was gone. I know. You going to claim it? Sofia looked at the letter, at the perfume vial sitting on her desk, at the life she'd built from nothing. Yeah, she said, I am, and I'm going to use it the way she wanted, to build something good. Rivaldi smiled. Then let's go get it. Bons. 2 weeks later, Sofia stood in the lobby of Banco Nacional, holding a cashier's check for an amount that made her dizzy. $5 million. Her grandmother had been saving for 40 years, building a safety net Sofia never knew existed. She walked out of the bank, Rivaldi beside her, and stopped on the sidewalk. You okay? He asked. I don't know. I think so. She looked at the check. This changes everything. Only if you let it. What do you mean? Money doesn't change who you are. It just gives you options. He took her hand. What do you want to do with it? Sofia thought about her mother, about the hospital bills she couldn't pay, about the life she'd been living, barely surviving, drowning in debt. And she thought about the life she could build now. I want to expand the lab, she said, fund research, help people who can't afford treatment. I want to make sure no one else loses someone the way I lost my mom. Rivaldi squeezed her hand. Then that's what we'll do. They walked back to the car, and as Sofia slid into the passenger seat, she felt the weight of the past finally lift. Her grandmother had run, had hidden, had died alone. But Sofia wasn't alone. She had Rivaldi. She had a purpose. She had a future. And she was going to make damn sure it was worth everything it had cost. Sig. 3 years later, Sofia stood on a stage in front of 200 people, doctors, researchers, patients, at the grand opening of the Elena Vale Research Center. The building was state-of-the-art, fully funded, dedicated to finding cures for pulmonary diseases. Sofia's mother's name was engraved on a plaque in the lobby. She stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd, and felt the ghost of her grandmother's hand on her shoulder. This center exists because of a woman who taught me that survival isn't just about staying alive, Sofia said, her voice steady. It's about choosing what kind of life you want to live, and fighting for it, every single day. The audience applauded. Cameras flashed. Sofia stepped down from the stage and walked straight into Rivaldi's arms. You did it, he murmured. We did it. He kissed her forehead. Your grandmother would be proud. I hope so. They walked out of the building together into the Miami sunlight, and Sofia realized something. She wasn't running anymore, wasn't hiding, wasn't waiting for the next disaster. She was living. And for the first time in her life, that was enough. Achag. That night, Sofia and Rivaldi sat on the deck of his yacht, the same one where he'd given her the key 3 years ago. The ocean stretched out around them, dark and endless. Sofia wore the necklace. The vial of perfume caught the moonlight. You ever think about what would have happened if I hadn't walked into that restaurant? Rivaldi asked. All the time. And? I'd probably be dead, or worse. There's no worse than dead. You'd be surprised. She looked at him. What about you? You ever regret pulling me into this? Rivaldi was quiet for a moment. No? Not even once? Not even once. He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. You're the best choice I ever made. Sofia's chest tightened. Even though I'm a complication? Especially because of that. She laughed. It felt good, real. I love you, she said. The words came easier now. She'd said them before, but they still felt new every time. I love you too. They sat in silence, holding each other, as the yacht rocked gently on the waves. Somewhere beneath the surface, buried in 40 years of secrets and survival, was the story of a woman who'd run from everything. But above the surface, under the stars, was the story of a woman who'd chosen to stay, who'd chosen to fight, who'd chosen love over fear, and legacy over loss. Sophia Vale wasn't her grandmother's ghost. She was her own woman, and she was finally, truly free.